Yeah, let's go. We can look at this on the way back. Me and my crack team of experts have been testing out the new Campark X20 action camera, and we're talking about that today. There's a lot of similar action cameras on the market, and I've been using similar action cameras to do wildlife filming and outdoor filming for several years. This one I really like a lot. First off, it's got a touch screen, and it really works well, so you can do the various settings of video, still, motion detection, car mode, video lapse, slow record, photo lapse, burst mode, and underwater. And I'll just go through the still menu to give you an idea of what's available. You go hit still and simply take a picture by tapping the little red button. Or in the traditional way, the shutter. And then you, for each mode that you're in, you adjust the setting by touching the little wheel button. And you've got image size up to 20 megapixel, which I tend to shoot at least at 12 to 20 megapixel all the time. Exposure time, you can adjust your exposure. That's something I generally don't mess with unless I have a very specific application. Quality, I always shoot at fine, and there's just no reason not to shoot any less than fine nowadays. Now sharpness, this is important because sometimes people think that the camera is not as sharp as it could be, and they think that sharpness is like improving the quality of the photo, but actually sharpness will degrade the quality of photo. So a lot of action cameras, I've had a lot of experience with this, the Novatech chipset and the Sony CMOS sensors. You want to set the sharpness down to soft, which is basically no added sharpness whatsoever, because if you pick normal or especially strong, you're just basically going to degrade your photograph and your video. So if you get one of these cameras and you seem like you're not happy with the clarity of the picture or the video, seems like there's some noise in it or something like that, you need to set your sharpness back to soft. In most cases, that will solve that problem. Because what adding extra sharpness does is add a degree of noise into your, and unreality into your picture. I mean, sharpness is something that you would normally, if you're using a digital SLR, you would normally adjust maybe the sharpness post-processing when you have it in video editing software. You don't want to be adjusting your sharpness before you even take a video. So let me just restate this pretty clearly. If you have an action camera, one of these like this, with this particular chipset, in this particular price range that is real common now, and you're not happy with the image, go back and look at the default setting. The default setting may be normal, which is actually a significant degree of sharpness cranked into the process. So you want to dial it back to soft. And I'll show you some examples later of what that means. White balance, generally you just leave that in auto, unless you have a very specific need under artificial lighting, or if it's just you're not happy with the auto process. Color is pretty self-explanatory. It's in normal. You can do some, you can do some adjustments in here. But again, a lot of this adjustments is better done in something like Wondershare, which I use as a video post-processing software. You know, I would really, unless you really want to mess around with it, I would really avoid, changing too many features on the settings for the various video and photo options. ISO, again, ISO auto, it can go up to 1600, which is pretty good. And that would be mostly for low light shooting and things like that. But again, try it in auto, but if you're in a low light situation, you might experiment with higher ISO. And there's a little bit of adjustment of plus or minus on the exposure. Again, that's if you're trying for some sort of artistic effect, or if because of the unique environmental conditions you're trying to adjust for the automatic. Gyro sensor is just telling the camera what's up and what's down. That's generally off unless you're into some extreme action. Field of view is what you set your angle. The default is wide angle, 170 degrees, which is really great for most purposes because you want to get as much in the frame as you can. But if you have a specific need, like sometimes I want to focus on a little small area where the animals will be, you can use a narrower field of view. Wide dynamic range is similar to high dynamic range. I generally leave that on, but again, if you're having some issues where you think the photograph or the video looks just a little bit unnatural, you might try experimenting with turning that off. Distortion correction, I usually leave that off because again, I don't want to introduce any. Basically what you're doing when you mess with a lot of these settings is you're introducing a lot of pre-processing before you've even taken your photo or video, when you can easily do that after the fact. Timestamp, self-explanatory. I generally leave the timestamp off and depending on what the use is. And then you just hit back to to get back to the main screen, live screen. The other setting here is sort of the overall system setting: language, date, time, formatting your card, the ketone pad sound, and the voice prompt. I have the voice prompt on right now. If you're in a lot of situations like me when I'm hiking or I have the action camera attached to my head or my chest, you can't really tell, you can't look at it to see if you're recording or not. So the voice prompt is useful to let you know that you've actually started a recording or taken a photograph. And the rest of this is pretty self-explanatory. The Wi-Fi is important because that's a significant bonus on this particular unit. And basically you can set your own ID and your own password. The default password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we'll show some examples of that. And so that's pretty straightforward. You just go through and easily set the menu for all those. One of the nice things I like about this is the remote control that can be set up sort of like a watch band. Just simply push the red button to take a photograph, and it takes a photograph. It's always active. Or you pick the tan button to start a video. And you just give it a nice firm push and it starts. And then of course to stop the recording. This is useful when you're, like I said, when you're in a situation outdoors where you have the camera attached to some sort of external device on your head or helmet or chest or shoulder, or even the hand cam, which I'll show you later, so that you can do it remotely and get a sound confirmation that you've actually taken a recording. You know, one of the critical things, of course, if you're setting some sort of photo shoot up, to actually do it and find out you don't have the video running. So, you know, that's something that's pretty fundamental. The rest of the camera is pretty straightforward. The nice thing is it comes with 2 batteries. My experience with the batteries is when you first get them, their life cycle is fairly short, but the more you charge them and use them over a period of time, they reach their full capacity. And after several charging cycles, I've found over the years that I've used these batteries that the typical 1080p 30 frames per second video runs for about 25 minutes before it fills up the 4 gigabyte file. And generally when the battery is fully charged, you can get 5 or 6 25-minute videos. So you basically can get, approximately an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours life out of continuous use. Now the battery cover is a little fragile on this camera, as it is on most of the action cameras, similar action cameras. Most people should be able to just pop it off with their thumbnail. If you do use a knife or sharp object, just make sure you stay in the middle. There's 2 little tongs on either side of here that are fairly small, and you wouldn't want to break those. So I mean, it just pops out real easily with either your thumbnail or a very small sharp object. I like that it has the tripod mount recessed into the frame itself. Rather, some of the other action cameras they had, you had to take and put the camera in a holder and then put that holder onto the tripod. This just makes it a whole lot simpler for me just to put it directly on there. And it comes with a, the typical number of attachments, a USB cable, really pretty good instruction manual, and of course the waterproof case, which is standard with all these cameras now. And you can operate, the camera with a touch screen, but you can operate it just as easily using the traditional push buttons if you have it in the waterproof case. And again, we've already discussed the remote control, a little cleaning cloth, and basically it's at this price point with the features of the remote control and the touch screen and the quality, it's a pretty nice little camera. The last thing I want to go over before we show a lot of examples is the Wi-Fi. To turn on the Wi-Fi of the camera, you just simply hold the up button up and you'll see the Wi-Fi start. And it gives you the ID number and the WPA password. Okay, so you turn your Wi-Fi on, and then what I found is you need to set it up so that you connect to the Campark manually. And then you get a notice on your phone that says Wi-Fi has no internet access, tap for options. And you click that and you accept it. And then it works just like that. But I'm going to show you some examples outside here in a few minutes of using it in real world conditions. So I find that the Wi-Fi program it works great. I mean, you just simply switch modes from photo to video back and forth, and I'm starting a video now. Stop a video. Take a photo. Not a problem, and then you can review things that you've taken and download them also. So, I find that the remote control works great and the Wi-Fi works great, and I'll show you some examples of that out in the real world. Okay, we're testing out the Wi-Fi capabilities and remote control. I'm using my Droid Turbo 2 phone. I've got the Campark Cam King Pro app running on it. There you can see it. We've got the video going, and a little bit of a glare on my screen there, but you can see the squirrel coming up there and checking it. So you got a live view, and you can control it from here. Well, the Wi-Fi remote control seems to work fine. Picture, now I'll take a video. And the remote control really works good out in the field there. I'm testing it in real world conditions out here. I'll stop the video. And just take another picture, and it automatically switches mode and takes a picture. I mean, the remote control really works slick, as does the Wi-Fi control unit. Overall, just to sum it up, it's another entry into the 4K 20 megapixel action camera, and it's a nice camera. It uses the Novatech chipset and the Sony CMOS sensor, which a lot of the higher end cameras in this price range use. And it's got the nice touch screen and the remote control and the Wi-Fi, and it should be a good action camera. I'm real happy with the quality. You just have to remember to go through and adjust the settings. If you're not happy with the initial quality, I highly recommend that you scale back the sharpness to soft. I'll show you some examples just using the hand cam adapter that I have. This comes with the basic attachment accessories. There's all sorts of other accessories available real cheaply on Amazon. I'll put a link to them in later. The classic one is, of course, the head attachment or helmet attachment, the chest and shoulder, and then, of course, the hand attachment. So, let's just look at some real life examples. That's the best thing to show right now. So let's have some fun with it.